So good morning, welcome, and today we're doing session 3, how to track and query critical dates and follow up in REA. Then this is going to be covering how to use the time management system to create events, how to finish events, make them go to history, and then follow up on those events later on. So I have my time management screen open here, and you can set the time management screen to show up on startup if you don't have it set currently. That way the first thing you see whenever you start up REA in the morning is your current schedule, although if you'll notice mine's quite a bit backed up because I'm just using a demo database that I made last year around this time. So you can always change that option by going to Tools and Options, clicking on Show Time Management on Startup. So that will make sure that whenever you open REA, this will be the first window that comes up. However, if you just want to open it after the fact later on, you can always either go to View and choose Time Management, or if you notice when you go to there, you'll actually see that the hotkey to bring up Time Management is F2 on your keyboard. Now, Time Management is split up into 4 tabs. The 2 we'll be covering today are Events and History. There's also a section for projects, which is kind of what ties the history records together with your contacts and properties, as well as leads, which is another way of tying those contacts and properties to the projects and thus to the properties and contacts. Kind of a mouthful. So events are the upcoming scheduled activities that you have, phone calls, meetings, emails, to-dos, and so on. Whereas history are those events after they've finished and after they've been done. So they're kind of 2 sides of the same coin if you really want to think of it like that. Events being the stuff that you have upcoming, history being the stuff that has been completed. And it's easy to take an event that you have scheduled once it's finished and have it go into the history. So going forward, when you see a contact, you can see all of those phone calls and meetings that you've done with that contact or on a given project. Projects will be delved into a bit more. I will have a webinar on that in early March. That's going to be about a 45-minute webinar, 30 to 45 minutes on projects. So look for that in the near future. And as well, you can always go to help and training videos and be able to see that right from there on how to add a project, how to manage the projects, and so on. So if you want to schedule an event, now I generally suggest scheduling events from the actual contacts that you're going to be scheduling them from. So I'm actually going to close out of my time management screen for the time being and go into my contacts. So I'm just going to bring up a contact. I'm just going to bring up my own contact record here and schedule an event with this dashing young lad here. So if you want to schedule an event with a contact, there's a button here where it says schedule, and there's a drop-down menu. If you choose that, you'll see 6 different options, and of course you can actually choose any of the different event types, but these are just the most 6 commonly used event types, so those are the ones under that drop-down menu. Either choose phone call, meeting, follow-up, to-do, annual event, or other event. Or you can just hit the schedule button on its own, and it'll bring up the schedule dialog box, schedule event dialog box, where you can select any of the event types in your REA. Now, right from the screen, if there's an event type that you want to add to your system that there's not there, right on the right side of the event type, you can just click the button with the 3 dots there and add the event type directly to the list here. So you can add new event types. So for example, I created one called Other or whatever, or Update, and so on. So you can add any different event types that you want to the system like that as well. So to kind of give you a tour of this window, first off is the subject. So this is going to kind of be a brief overview of what the scheduled event is. So let's say I want to call to set up a meeting on a given property. Let's say I want to do a tour with him on the Three Flags Plaza sometime early next month, and I want to call him on Monday to set up a time to do that. So for that, I would say subject is call to set up a tour of Three Flags Plaza. Now, event type, I'm going to choose phone call in this case, since clearly if I'm calling to set up a tour, that's the event type. You can also set a specific color or use the default colors that are in the system to do that. You can set a priority for it. That way you can sort based on the priority, just showing, for example, just the ones that are set to high priority or highest priority. I generally leave that alone, but it's there if you do need it. And then since this is with the Three Flags Plaza, I actually have a project set up for that. That way anytime I make phone calls or have meetings on that project, and it's going to be on the for sale side of it, I can associate it with that project. So like let's say a month or so, my client wants to see all of the phone calls, meetings, to-dos, and everything that I've done to try to sell his property. Well, I could do a report based on that project and be able to do a printout for my clients showing exactly what I've done for them. Now, like I said, I want to schedule this for Monday, so I'm just going to click on the little calendar button here and choose Monday, February 27th. I get confused at what the day time is. And then I'm going to schedule this, so I'm going to call them at 1 o'clock p.m. Now, there's a few other buttons here. You can set timeless events as well, meaning it's just scheduled at some point during the day. So if you click that, you'll notice it actually automatically grays out the time, so you can't actually select that. So it'll just be a blank time. You can also create all-day events. So like, for example, if you're going out of town for a conference, you can actually schedule an all-day event that possibly spans multiple days. So that, again, automatically removes the time from that. I'm actually going to create another event to show how the recurring events works as well. So I'm going to skip that for right this moment. Alarm. Now, you can set an alarm to pop up at a specific time. So I'm going to set an alarm to pop up 10 minutes before my phone call. That way I'll get a little window pop up in my REA letting me know that I have this call to set up a tour of Three Flags Plaza. So if I set it to have it 10 minutes beforehand, that means at 12:50 p.m. I'm going to get a little window pop up telling me, hey, you got to do this in a minute or 10 minutes. Now, because I'm on the contact record for Bobby here, it automatically set that as the linked to. However, you can also add multiple contacts or properties to the link to. That way, when you finish it, it'll actually go into the history on all of those records. So let's say I'm actually going to be doing a conference call not just with this guy, but also with Jeremy Smith. So I can click on the button there, hit contact to search for Jeremy Smith. Select him and hit OK. And so it's automatically now linked to both of those contacts. So if I were to go to Jeremy's contact record after we're done here, it'll also show up on the schedule for Jeremy. Now, of course, you can also type in any notes. He is looking for a property and Three Flags seems to meet his needs swimmingly. Great word. Just go ahead and hit OK here. And now if we go to the Events tab on this contact, we'll see that on February 27th at 1 p.m., we have a scheduled phone call with him. Now we can also, of course, go to Jeremy Smith's contact record, and we see, let me just actually change the sort here. We see that on February 27th, that's scheduled with him as well. So it's one event, but it's actually tied to both of these contacts. So if we come into our office, let's pretend now it's Monday, and it's 1 o'clock, and we call Jeremy and Bobby to set up that meeting, and we want to create a follow-up for that. Well, I want to go into my time management to finish that event. So I'm going to go to View, Time Management, or, of course, once again, F2 on your keyboard. And it's driving me crazy having it all in the wrong order. And then February 27th comes around, and we want to finish this event. We call them, and we have now a date that we're going to do that tour. Well, I can right-click on that event and choose Finish. Now, there's a few other options as well. You can choose Quick Finish with History or Quick Finish No History. Quick Finish with History will just take everything that's in that event and move it to history, take it out of your calendar. Quick Finish No History will just take it out of the calendar. So I'm just going to go ahead and choose Finish in this case, because that actually gives us a chance to create a follow-up as well as change the notes here. So let's say we want to also make some notes about what we talked about on the call. He will view the property on March 1st, 2012. He had lovely eyes. Or anything else you want to put into the notes section. Of course, you probably wouldn't put that unless he's very dreamy. And then we see that it automatically kept the start date and end date. So if, let's say, the phone call, we actually didn't manage to get a hold of him until 1:15, and we wanted to make note of that, and it was actually a 30-minute phone call, well, we can change the end time here from 1:15 to 1:45. Useful if you want to keep track of how long your phone calls are. That way you can actually generate a call report showing your client how much time you spent on the phone, thus being able to show billable hours using this tool. Now we want to create a follow-up as well. So I'm just going to move this off to the side so you can still see it in the background and hit this follow-up button at the bottom left. Now that's going to copy everything from the history that we're inputting right now into a new scheduled event. So if you notice, this window says history record. It's a little bit different than the event. So they're two sides of the same coin, and windows look very, very similar, just slightly different. Now we're going to keep most of this stuff. I'm actually going to change the subject, though, to Tour of Three Flags Plaza. Event type, I'll actually change that from follow-up to meeting. And it's going to be on March 1st, so change that to March 1st. Let's say at 2:30 p.m. He's a kind of a late person. So if we hit OK, it's going to put a new event into our calendar here. We'll see March 1st, we have a meeting for the tour of the Three Flags Plaza. And then we can just hit OK on this history record window. And that event from 2/27 left our schedule. If we go over to history now, we actually see that on 2/27 at 1:15, we had that phone call. The notes changed the way we changed them. He'll view the property on 3/1/2012. We see that it's linked to two records as well. So if we go back to our contact record for Jeremy Smith and Bobby Bavis, we'll see that now there is that March 1st event scheduled, no longer one on the 27th. If we go over to history, we can now see that on February 27th at 1:15, we made a phone call and we set up a tour for March 1st for that. Now, if we go to the other contact record as well, it'll show up in the same way there. So you're able to create these events and history records and have them show up in multiple places in your database, in time management, on the contact records that they're linked to, on the projects as well. So it kind of gives you a nice, robust list of everything that you've done. You want to schedule it with the contact. That way, whenever I go to Bobby's contact record, I can see everything that I've talked to him about. I called him a few times about the Three Flags Plaza, going all the way back to July 27th of last year. I sent him an email about it. If I go to the projects, however, it'll show him for all contacts. So if I go to View Projects, actually I'm going to do Search Projects to bring up a specific one, Three Flags for Sale. And all of those history items and events that I have coming will show up on the project record as well. So it kind of saves you a lot of work not having to go to the property saying, okay, well, I made a phone call about the property. Then go to the project and say, well, I made a phone call about this project. Then go to each individual contact record. It saves you a lot of time not having to do that each and every time. So that is how you create an event and schedule follow-ups, create history out of those events. Now, one final thing is how to create a recurring event. So let's say we want to create an event showing us when this contact's birthday is. And I'm actually going to use my own birthday here. So if you want to send any big-ticket items, my address is right there. So just let you know just in case. I'm going to go ahead and go to Schedule and choose Annual Event. And it automatically sets it up as a recurring event. So I can hit the recurring button here to change the information. So every July 9th, this is going to pop up. It'll only show up once in our calendar. So on up until July 9th, 2012, that will show up. Then on July 10th, 2012, it will start showing the event marked for July 9th, 2013. We're going to make it an all-day event. And we're going to make the start date July 9th as well. So you're able to use this to create birthdays, anniversaries, and so on. Birthday. Yeah, we'll just leave it at that. Event type, we can choose birthday as well. And another thing that I like to do actually is for the start date, I actually like to change that start date to the day they were born. So I'm actually going to change that from July 9th, 2012 to 1981. Hit OK. And so every year on my calendar, I'm going to have this recurring event show up. So you can schedule all of these recurring activities, birthdays, event types, or even just weekly meetings. You can go to schedule meeting and hit the recurring button. And let's say we're going to have a weekly meeting every Tuesday and Friday at 11:30 a.m. So you can use this to generate not just one-time activities, but also recurring events. And I'll actually be talking about on March 5th how to synchronize with Microsoft Outlook and export information. The calendar items in REA can actually be sent to Microsoft Outlook to be able to export that information to, say, a smartphone or your iPad. That way it pops up on there as well. So that will be covered on session 7. However, before that, you need to be able to see how to do that. Again, you can go to help and training videos for information on how to get most of what's available in REA. Bring up a web page that looks like this, and for example, if you click on Outlook, it'll show you how to synchronize with Outlook, how to reload your contacts from REA, and so on. So if the webinars aren't fast enough, you can always use that REA University to cover a lot of the things that are available in REA to do. So that's pretty much our session today. I do have to get back to technical support.